Good morning, guys. Thanks for tuning in again to Real Estate Steals, Deals, and Opportunities. Today, we're going to talk about 2 more myths that we want to expose from my book, Exposing the Truth Behind the Lies of Real Estate Investing. And this is a great read for those of you interested in real estate investing or new at it, because there are about 10 common myths that I believe are the most popular based on traveling and hearing the same questions over and over everywhere I've spoken. And so I finally put them together because most real estate investors start off being blocked just because they are believing these myths. So today we're going to expose 2 more. One of them is using system costs more and slows down the profit process. And we will talk about also another myth, learn all you can before you invest. I mean, these sound like they might be true, but I want to give you my perspective on it. So first of all, we're going to talk about this lie. Using system costs more and slows down the profit process. So really, everybody just wants you to jump in, learn what they want to teach you, maybe, whatever it is, jump into their system, which may not appear to be a system, but, follow what they're saying, and this is what you're going to do. But there's no real system. There's no procedures. You're just going to go out and do and make money, okay? The truth is that systems are an investment that reduce risk and increase profit. So you know how people say, don't reinvent the wheel, take a wheel that's already working? Well, that's a system, okay? So we don't want to reinvent the wheel. We want to follow proven systems for success, all right? So that definitely is a lie we want to expose. So now when you get into real estate investing, I'm a full-time real estate investor here in South Florida. I'm also a broker, but I am an investor first. And so I want to buy homes, I want to wholesale them, I want to fix them up and sell them retail, and I want to keep them as rentals in my portfolio. So everything real estate, I want to just gobble up. I love it. Okay, so when you own your own business, you are going to wear a hat basically for every part of the system that has a place in your business. So when you're new at investing, then you're going to wear all of these different hats, which means you've got to learn a little bit about every piece of your business in order to be successful before you can start delegating those hats, so to speak. And so in real estate investing, guys, we're going to be initially marketing for houses, all right? We want sellers to call us. So we're going to market and put out websites or literature or mailers, postcards, billboards, commercials, whatever it is that gets people to call you and say, hey, I saw your marketing and I want to sell your home. So there's a system right there, marketing to bring in the leads. Otherwise, people are like, well, how do you find your deals? Well, there's a lot of ways to do it. Let's put on the marketing hat and put that system together, right? So why reinvent the wheel when there's a lot of marketing systems out there that will get your phone to ring? So there's one system right there. And then the next hat would be acquisition. Okay, the phone is ringing now. How do we go out and negotiate and acquire these different properties? Well, we better be able to run comps. We better know how much it costs to fix it. We better be able to inspect it quickly and move. A lot of times people are in distress and they're up against a time clock. And they need you to close by a certain date to bail them out of trouble. And so all of this is in your acquisition model. Now that's a system and procedures within itself, okay? Then we've acquired the property. Now we have a transaction coordinator involved. So once we write a contract, you're putting on the hat of taking the paperwork through the process, not just the house, but the paperwork, right? So the paperwork's got to go to the title company, and then it's got to have the lien search, and we've got to make sure that the house has no problems, the people have no problems that have attached to the house, and we've got to clear all these issues. All right, so in addition to the physical inspection of the home and all of that taking place, it's the paperwork side of it getting done. And then ultimately we've got to get to closing. So now there's a closing office, there's a closing attorney, and they're doing all of the things, including putting your funding together. So funding is a whole nother hat, right? Because maybe you're going out, it's not just your own cash, but you're going to leverage this purchase. And so you have private lenders that you have already lined up. You're pre-qualified with people. So there's a whole nother system, model, and procedures right there. And so you see how you might be taking off and on hats all day long if you're the one person running your business. And then, now we own this thing, all of that's worked out. Now we've got to start renovating. And so there's the whole process of vetting, and hiring the contractors and knowing exactly how you want the home remodeled, putting together a realistic budget and renovating the home properly. All right, then, so that's another hat all in itself. So what happens is when people don't do any one of these systems properly, they get stuck wearing that hat, and all the other hats are sitting over here, and the work for that hat is being piled up, and things aren't getting done right. So it's really is learning how to juggle those hats to get everything to operate smoothly. And so the renovation is finally over, and hopefully you're in budget and on time. And now you've got your sales and marketing on the other end, right? So this time, it's listing that property. Have you chosen the broker? Are you the broker? And the for sale sign and the flyers and all of the marketing pieces put together, maybe a mailer in the neighborhood or whatever, again, the procedures are in the system for selling the property or renting the property, whatever that exit strategy is. So you see there's a lot involved in being a real estate investor. And all of these are systems and procedures that need to be in place before you begin. You know, whenever someone says, well, this is what I'm going to do, and they just run out and think they're going to put something under contract and it's just going to, happen by itself, too many mistakes can be made. And so a lot of people, investor-minded people, I find in my experience, are way too cheap to invest their money in the right things that help them to be successful. And what happens is the loss of money goes into overspending on a house, paying too much for the house, over budgeting the renovation, getting taken by the contractor, getting taken by everybody in the process, simply because they didn't spend money on a system or an education to let them know, here's what you need to look for. And if you follow this model, you'll actually save money. So whenever we invest in the right thing, it saves us far more than the investment. And so people look at what they're investing and say, well, I don't want to spend that money. I can do this on my own. You certainly can, but I guarantee you spent 10 times as much doing it on your own, not to mention the delay in accomplishing the effort. Okay, so the delay in achieving your goal, it has a major cost to it as well. And so that investor mindset that keeps you where you're at and keeps you cheap will keep you broke. You'll never achieve the success that you really dream of because you are in your own way. So spend the money on learning what each of these hats does, being able to delegate them properly, okay, and finding success sooner than later. And so I'm a big believer in all of that success model and purchasing the experience of a wheel that's already been invented. Okay, so now here's another lie. It kind of goes, in turn with the first one, right? Learn all you can and then invest. Okay, saying I'm just going to jump in and it's all going to take care of itself, and wonder why they lost out on their very first project. They lost money. So sometimes those people who could have been very successful because they got burned don't ever want to do it again. They actually walk away from their dream just because they went about it the wrong way. So now you have people on the other side of the spectrum. They're so afraid that they think they're going to learn everything they can before they invest. And thanks to technology, we actually can believe the lie that we could possibly learn everything we can and everything that's out there before we invest. It's true that what you don't know can hurt you, but sometimes you just have to learn what you need to know and then invest. And so that's why there's a lot of gurus and mentors and coaches and programs out there of successful people who've already gone before you. They've got the wheel to hand you and say, hey, do what this wheel says to do. I know it's going to work because I've gone before you to do it, and I'm going to hold your hand along the way. And this is the type of investment that you can make that ensures your success. But don't be like many students who make the mistake and then call and say, hey, Sharon, can you bail me out? No, ask me before you're making the decision so I can guide you. That's what we're here for. So the truth is you can't learn it all. It's impossible to learn everything before you do anything. Set yourself up for success and go for it. So when I say set yourself up for success, I mean learn what you need to learn about the niche you want to go into. Some people will, read a little bit about everything, but something will resonate with you that you've read. There'll be a certain niche that you feel matches your goals and where you want to go. And then learn more about that niche. There's so many things you can do in real estate investing as an investor. Start out with one that you really feel strongly about now. And then the doors will begin to open as you're successful in that one niche. You'll begin to be able to move into the other niches as well, and you'll have a lot more confidence because you are achieving success in what you've chosen. All right, so that's how you'll go for it, is choose that one thing. Don't overwhelm yourself. What I find with a lot of personalities that are entrepreneur spirited is that, we can easily overwhelm ourselves because we look at the elephant and try to think how we can eat the whole elephant in one bite. And so because we can't, we actually get paralyzed and we stop and we don't even move forward. And we need to understand that we don't have to eat the whole elephant in one bite. We really can take one bite at a time and eventually devour the elephant. And so we need to back up and not be our own roadblock. So whether it's zeal without knowledge or knowledge without zeal, either way, we're our roadblock. And so now I'm going to take a minute to talk to you about the real estate market cycles. This is something I really drive home with my students because it is what I like to call the crystal ball of investing. And if you understand real estate market cycles and how they will help you determine what you need to do right now in the current market cycle that you're in, you will always be successful. All right, so the last thing we want to do is have the public, have the media tell us what we should be doing. If that's what's happening, you are already not going to be successful because once the media is telling the world stop investing or start investing, the real players in that arena have already started or already stopped. And if you're going to be one of those real players who's making money, then you're going to have to be doing what you need to be doing well before the media tells the public to follow. Okay, so this is very simple, and I'm going to go through it kind of quickly in the interest of time here. But you've got 4 market cycles that simply repeat themselves, and there's no way to know how long we'll be in any one market cycle. It could be for years, okay, that we're in a market cycle, or we could go through all of them quickly. You just don't know. But while you are in it, there are telltale signs to let you know where you are at in that market cycle. And that's the explanation we see along the right side that I'm going to go over with you. So as you can see in a market cycle 1, the bar is climbing. So we are climbing. We're in an appreciating market where values are going up. Okay, and that's how you can follow the lines and see what's happening. So in a market cycle 1, we look at the definitions that define that market cycle to understand what's happening in the market cycle. Okay, so it says number of properties on the market reduces. What does that mean? That demand is high. Properties sell quickly. Okay, demand is going, people are buying. It's a great market. The economy must be doing well. So the unemployment rate is low, which means our economy is prospering. Real estate prices and rental rates increase. All right, so we are seeing a market appreciating quickly. Now, the great thing about market cycle 1 is that when you buy a house, it doesn't matter how many mistakes you make, it's already appreciated by the time you put it on the market. Now, the bad thing about that is that anybody could think that they're a smart real estate investor because no matter what mistakes they made, they just got paid for in that appreciation. So they don't realize that they don't know what they're doing until they're in a market cycle 3, and they don't have the liberty of time and mistakes because they will lose money. And so those are your pros and cons there. So the same situation is good and bad. All right, so now market cycle 1, wow, we're doing great. But the last thing we want to do, guys, is be buying houses we're going to renovate as we're approaching a market cycle 2. We will lose money. So how do we know that we're approaching a market cycle 2 where we're going to peak and then start to go down, okay, and depreciate in value? And so this is my point to you. If you're buying in a market cycle 2 and you think you've got all this time because the last 5 houses you bought, they just appreciated and you're excited, you're hot, so now you are buying. But you're buying in a market cycle 2 where you're coming to a peak. You don't know it until you already own the home. And then the news station tells you, don't buy right now. It's a buyer's market. Prices are going to drop. It's too late, okay, if the media is telling you. So how do you know that you're approaching a market cycle 2 so you can shift gears? So here you go. Market cycle 2 says number of properties on the market begin to increase. In other words, the inventory is increasing. And this is something that you will notice if you're in the game. You're watching the statistics out on MLS, okay? That's where I get all of my data, is the MLS. So I can literally see that time on the market is increasing, that prices are being reduced, because I'm getting emails every day. And every time I buy a house, own a rental, no matter what I'm doing, I set up a search in MLS, because it allows you to do that for that particular neighborhood, because every neighborhood, every city, anywhere in the country can have completely different market cycles going on. So you want to monitor this chart everywhere that you're investing. And so I want to see, while I have a home renovating, what's going on in that neighborhood. Am I getting, let's say I thought the house that I would list the home when I was done at $300,000. And I'm getting emails every day that there's listings now at $300,000. Wow, there's closed sales at $305,000, $310,000. So I'm noticing this while my home is under renovation. Now, by the same token, maybe I'm noticing price reductions, and now prices are $290,000, $295,000. I'm really looking at this data and going, wait a minute, why are they reducing prices? Let me look at the pictures and see if the home is going to be just as nice as mine. I start doing some, research, and maybe I decide, wow, it looks like this neighborhood where I bought this home and I think I'm going to list at $300,000 is starting to hit a market cycle too. It's in its own peak. I better readjust my sale price, even if it means I'm going to reduce my profit, because if I don't take a small loss now, I may own that home into a market cycle 3. Well, it will actually cost me money to sell it, or I'm going to have to turn it into a rental, and maybe I'm going to cash flow, maybe I'm not. So I don't want to be in that position if my exit strategy is to flip this house and be out of it. So I hope you're following me, because I know I'm talking quickly. So in market cycle 2, the unemployment rate increases slightly. So we see that the economy is having some issues, right? Property sales begin to slow down, right? So they're slowing down, days on market are longer, and sale prices are still on the high side though. Why? Because everybody's trying to still get what their neighbor got. So they're still listing high, but they're wondering, why is it taking longer? What's going on? So, it's not as easy to notice. You really got to be looking at the data. So data is very important to us as a real estate investor, right? So I didn't even put the hat on there for the R&D guy, research and development. This has got to be part of what you're looking at every day. If you're in the real estate game, you've got to be out there with carrying that ball and knowing what's going on. So market cycle 3, now boom, we've already peaked, values are dropping. Market cycle 3 says prices actually begin to drop. The desire for buying drops. The demand is down. So supply is increasing. So when supply increases, the values drop, right? Because if we can just lower our price enough, we'll get somebody to buy, we hope. And so unemployment rate increases. We're not having good economic times. And real estate values are low and keep falling. So this could be extreme or this could be minor. Regardless, you have to buy for much less, and you can't expect the value to go up. So market cycle 3 is not a time to be a flipper where you're buying, fixing, and selling. This is an incredible time to be buying and holding. Now, just like you can see the peak of a market cycle 2, you get to the bottom of a market cycle 3 where you shift into a 4. Okay, so just as there are market cycles, there are strategies to apply in every single market cycle. You don't just stop investing. If you're a real estate investor for a living, you've got to be earning income. So I'm a major believer in getting my students to keep rentals, okay, to have investments, have cash flow coming in. So even if you are in a market cycle 3, my hope is that you bought so right that you can reduce rents in order not to go vacant and still cash flow. And you acquire more properties in a market cycle 3. So see, in a market cycle 1, you need to be saving all of that cash. Because when you're a real estate investor full-time, traditional banks don't want to touch you when the market is tanking. So in a market cycle 3, you need to be cash heavy and find the best leverage that you can so that you can acquire as much as you will be able to in a market cycle 3. And you will really take advantage of purchasing and acquiring property. So now, market cycle 4 tanks. Now you're watching the market, so you know, oh my gosh, I'm in market cycle 4. Let me get together as much cash as I can, involve as many investors as I can, because I see I'm in a market cycle 4. This is my last big hurrah to buy everything I can at bargain basement prices, because we're going to enter a market cycle 1. And then maybe at the top of the market cycle 2, or as we almost shift to there, I'll sell everything I bought and 1031 into a big apartment building, or I don't know. You have a lot of options when you have a lot of assets. So market cycle 4 says properties begin to sell, less time on market. You see, we're starting to see things shift back. Now, if you're monitoring the data, you're going to see this before the media touts it, right? You're going to see that unemployment rates are decreasing. Now, that's something that the media will talk about, but hopefully, if you follow an economist, which I, encourage you to do, you'll hear about it before the world does. Okay, so real estate values begin to increase again. So as you notice this data, you'll realize, hey, we're coming to the end of this 3. Let me buy everything I can right now, even if I pay a little bit more for it to get the deal, because we're getting ready to shift back into a 1. All right, so I hope that really quick explanation kind of guides you. This chart is in my book, which of course I think is a really good read, but this is truly why you can see why I call it the crystal ball, because if you have the data, you know exactly what's going to happen next in your market. So guys, learn the top 10 lies misleading you. I bet you didn't know about this market cycle chart that really can guide you in every decision you make regarding real estate, whether you're going to buy a home for yourself or you want to invest. This easy read really goes into detail about all of the lies and all of the myths, and you can come to my website at 32westrealty.com/books and pick up your copy for only $15. Why start out in front of a roadblock when properly educated, you can just plow right through that thing and get going with your investments. So if you are interested in reaching out to me, working with us in properties here in South Florida, getting on our buyers list, then certainly do so. Here's my number, my email address, and our website is 32westrealty.com. And for those of you who enjoyed what you learned about exposing these myths, then I encourage you to learn more about other real estate investing and amazing topics via online interactive video conferences at learnfromgreen.com. When you increase your knowledge and invest in yourself, the return is incredible, and success and income belong to you. So thank you again for tuning in, and I look forward to teaching you again next week.